but the Christian Grey version of the books compared to the actual original books. Before I get started, like, comment, subscribe, turn on your notifications to let you know whenever I post another video. With that being said, let's get into it. So, when the original 50 Shades of Grey books came out, I wasn't all those women that wasn't hyped to watch or read the books. I did not read the books until I actually saw the first movie. Yeah. After I saw the first movie, I bought all 3 books. I read all 3 books. My favorite movie out of the 50 Shades of Grey, 50 Shades Darker, and 50 Shades Freed. Out of all 3 of them, I like the 50 Shades Freed. Then it was, I believe, the 10-year anniversary of the 50 Shades of Grey books. The author, E.L. James, decided she was going to write and release the version that went to, instead of Anastasia's point of view, it was Christian Grey's point of view. Out of those books, all 3 of them, it was called Grey, Darker, and Freed. Out of those 3 books, my favorite book, and I couldn't really put it down, was the Freed books also. The first book, Grey, it was better than the 50 Shades of Grey. Darker, it took a while to get into reading that book. So it took me almost a year and a half to go back to wanting to read that book. And then Freed, when it came out, I did buy it when it came out. And after I got done reading Darker, I read Freed. His version of the books are a lot better than Anastasia's. I kind of wish she did those ones first and then came out with the 50 Shades of Grey. And I wish they would do a movie of the version of Christian Grey's instead of on top of Anastasia's, because seeing it from both sides is actually a pretty interesting way to look at the books. Also, when the Grey version of 50 Shades of Grey came out, the Twilight author actually got mad because she wanted to release a book of Edward's the way Edward saw it instead of Bella, which that book, before she released it, one of the people she sent the book to actually released it unfinished, and she wasn't happy. I haven't read that one yet. She also wrote the Twilight series. She also wrote a book, which I also have, and I've got to read it of, instead of Edward, Bella's the vampire and Edward would be the human, but they are called two different, it's a different name, which I also have that one. I want to read the Edward's take on the whole thing, and then I'm going to read that other book, the other version of Twilight. Going back to E.L. James and the 50 Shades of Grey books, she also wrote and released The Missus and the Master. Which I've got to look and see which one is the first. I have both of those books also, and I have not read them yet. They are in my where I have my books to read. So I will be reading those. But if you want a book to read, check out those. Or check out I've got to look up the name of her book. Pleasant Gaming's books. I am on her second book. So the two books I have are Showgirls Confessions and Rock and Roll Witch, a memoir of sex, drugs, and rock and roll. So that one is a really good book. And Showgirl Confessions, I am almost done with that one. That one's a good one too. If you want to read some really neat stories, go check her books out. I will link her books all the books that I've talked about on here. I will link them. In the description of this title. So for me, the 50 Shades of Grey in Christians telling this story is a lot better than the originals, I think. And since I haven't really read the Edward telling of the story, I can't tell you if it's a good book or not. And then the other 2 books, after I read them, I'll let you know if I like them. I'll do another book review. But the Pleasant Gaming book, Showgirls, Confessional, My Life on Stage, Backstage, and on the Road is a good book. The other book is a good book also. On Pleasant Gaming's books, I'll just, in the description, I will put where you can get all her books she has. Same with E.L. James and E.L. James. I can't even think of Twilight. Stephenie Meyer's. The Hostage. She has a movie called The Host, a book called The Host. That was actually a good movie, a good book. So, I might do another one on the Twilight books, because there's another book called this short story, The Short Second Life of Bree Tanner. That was a good book to read. So I'll just do another one of these on the Stephenie Meyer's books. But I'm going to end this video here. Like, comment, subscribe.